You are listening to the Young Black Travelers podcast. Black voices chatting on experiential travel, dedicated to creating a global community of travelers. Be bold, be inspired, be spontaneous. We are YBT.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another recording another episode of the YBT podcast. Listen, you guys have been sticking with us, and we're so grateful for your continued support of the Young Black Travelers podcast. Hopefully these conversations, these episodes have been really educational and uplifting, informative for you. But on today's podcast, you see a new face. She's not quite new because she was on the YBT podcast before, but she is a new YBT team member, and she's gonna be doing a lot of these conversation recording. I'm gonna have her reintroduce herself.
Alrighty, hi everyone. My name is Amina. I'm excited to be a part of the YBT team now. I'm a flight attendant, and I live in New York City.
Yeah, New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made. Wow. Wait, and Amina, why? I mean, you probably would have talked about this on the You Should Have Applied episode, but why flight attendant?
You know, it's an amazing way to travel for free, and your friends and family can travel for free, and you are able to just see the world and get paid for it. That's the best part.
Yeah. No, that is true. And you work for one of the best airlines in the US and in the world. So that's a great thing, right? So
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Listen, on today's episode, Amina is going to be talking to me about South Africa, but this is our intro, our get to know you. I guess this is my last questions for you before we go to break, and then you take this show from my hand, right? But we're recording this conversation now in November. The government shutdown would have ended by now. So by the time you would have listened to this, how was it flying and working through the government shutdown?
So it was quite odd because a lot of flights were reduced. So I don't really fly domestic flights anymore with my company. But a lot of my friends, were texting in our group chat saying, hey, my flight was canceled over multiple days. It was very odd to see, the flights lessen. And it wasn't for the reason of like a storm, but it really was just because of the government shutdown. And it was due to safety, not having enough ATC workers. So it was definitely necessary, but it was very odd just seeing flights canceled for no particular reason except they had to do it. They were forced to do it. So it was quite odd.
Wow. Well, yeah. Listen, I gotta chime in a little because you said ATC. Now let's break that down in plain language for all of the listeners.
So ATC stands for air traffic controllers. So, you don't see them, but they are the most important people in aviation. They are directing the flights. They are constantly on the phone with our pilots throughout the flights. They're telling them which altitudes to fly, which places to land, ways to avoid other aircraft. So they are really, really important. And when there aren't enough ATC controllers, ATC workers, it's very dangerous. So it was definitely necessary for them to reduce the flights for the safety of everyone.
Wow. And by the way, that was particularly within the US, correct? Because US airlines managed by US ATCs, the Canadian airspace would be managed by the Canadian ATCs and so on, right?
It would be,
Good.
Yes.
Makes sense. And we like to add little tips for you guys. And because we are a community that really believes in providing opportunities for people to travel, but also career opportunities, I'm going to drop this here that especially for our younger listeners, parents who have children, or, people who are younger, I think now than 35 or 32. There's a specific age. If someone is interested in becoming an air traffic controller, you have to apply, I think, by the time when I was looking at it, I remember it was 30. And I think they changed the age. I think, do you know the age limit now?
I don't, but it was 30 previously.
It was 30. I think they changed it. It is to 32, but it's not much. But let's just keep that benchmark in our mind, 30. So if you know someone who is below 30, they're looking for a career, and they are probably interested in aviation. A lot of times we usually just think about the flight attendants, the pilots, the gate agent, because that's all, as Amina said, we see those people, right? However, there are air traffic controllers, and so they run the show. Clearly, we saw what happened through the shutdown, and we saw how important they are. And I hear that the benefits are great. I hear air traffic controllers, I think, they don't work many days, but it is a high stress job. You know,
it is very high stress, but very rewarding, I've heard.
Exactly. I mean, the pay is great, but high stress. I mean, you have millions of lives in your hands. So if you don't, that's not a job that you mess up. You don't tell the plane to go on the runway and another plane is landed and think everything is going to be great. I mean, Lord, that is crazy. But nonetheless, you'll be all right if you know someone who's looking for a career, someone who's in high school, college, they're just graduating and they're thinking about, okay, what should I do? Parents, tell your kids, sit down, let them do some research on air traffic controllers, because honestly, I wish people told me about these careers when I was in high school and in college, or even after college. We don't talk about these in our community. We talk, what are the jobs we talk about, Amina? Drop them.
A nurse, a doctor.
Lawyer. Engineer. We don't talk about these jobs that are secure jobs that people are able to get into. And so listen, tip for you on this episode. So we're going to go to break now. And when we come back, the mic will be in the hands of Amina, and we're going to be talking about South Africa. So stay tuned.
All right, so before we jump back in, we wanted to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who joined us at the Governor's Ball on Wednesday, June 24th. So whether you attended, volunteered, or even represented the young Black travelers throughout the event, thank you for showing up with such incredible energy and helping to make the experience a memorable one. Events like these are about so much more than just being there. They're about building connections, gaining new experiences, and continuing to grow together as a community. We hope you had an amazing time, made some great memories, and maybe even stepped outside of your comfort zone. So, from all of us here at the Young Black Travelers, thank you for being part of this journey. We can't wait to create even more opportunities like this with you. Now, let's get back to today's.
So we are back from break. We are the Young Travelers podcast. And now our fearless leader, Asher, is in the hot seat. So you recently went to the motherland of all motherlands. You went to South Africa this year. So, Asher, we have some questions for you.
Okay.
What surprised you most about Joburg?
Wow.
Yeah, what surprised you most about this journey?
Yeah, the journey and Joburg particularly, I think it was just so real when I touched down on South Africa, because I've always been fascinated with Africa as a whole. I mean, I was born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but I've always followed just South African history. I've always loved Nelson Mandela. I've always been up to reading up about apartheid and the connection between apartheid and Jim Crow and just the U.S. struggle. And so I think one of the most surprising things when I went to South Africa was more so the settlements, and the settlements was one of the things that shocked me the most. But before we even get there, I would say the beauty of South Africa and Joburg is paramount. When you land, you are honestly, you're seeing beauty. It's a beautiful country and it's a well-developed country. So I would say that too was shocking, because when Westerners, people who have never been to Africa, when we think about Africa, some people just really, the image that is in their mind, and especially what the media talk about when they show Africa, they usually show the poverty of Africa.
Okay.
But South Africa is extremely developed. It was mind blowing of how developed it was. But so the development and the settlements was a big surprise for me.
Okay. So going back to something you said, settlements, could you explain what settlements are?
So interestingly, when you go to South Africa, there's the like Soweto is a settlement in South Africa. And so I said settlement, I meant township, right? So the townships are there, and that was extremely surprising. So the townships are like, there's Soweto, and I think there are many others that came about, I think, during the time of apartheid, where those lands were given, or Black South Africans were forced into those townships. Soweto is one of the ones that we know, like many people who would have heard about Soweto. Like I know about the Soweto Gospel Choir. Like that's history right there.
Yes.
But that's not the only settlement or township in South Africa. There are many others, and there are many others from Cape Town to Joburg. And so that's what I mean when I say settlement townships. Clarify.
Okay. Definitely. So how did visiting places like Soweto shape your understanding of South African history?
Yeah, I think it's pivotal that you actually go to Soweto, because it is in Soweto that you actually start to understand the true history of the struggle. You're not going to understand the struggle without going to townships like Soweto, because again, Soweto was the root of a lot of it. And you'll hear, especially if you do tours, and I would highly recommend that you do tours, because you don't want to go to Soweto just walking through Soweto. I think, and I'm not one of those travelers who just always tell people to just pay for a tour or just like spend money. But I think this is where you actually want to spend money for a tour, because it's very different. This is not a place that I think you just want to wander on your own. You want to get the history, have a tour guide actually walk you through the history, because you're going to be learning things that honestly you would have never learned in your history class.
Yeah.
I've gone to school in the US. We don't talk a lot about South African history. But here you're going through Soweto and you're seeing the house of Nelson Mandela. You're seeing the house of Desmond Tutu. Literally, they're next to each other. It's like, well, it's down the road from each other. So, like, that also gives you a context of this history. Like, okay, so Desmond Tutu lived down the road from Nelson Mandela. So maybe it would have been easier for them to actually like work together, because they were also locked up together. So like there's context there. But also I learned during this tour that there was a upper crust side of Soweto, which Desmond Tutu's house is kind of on the better, more beautiful side. By the way, I think Soweto is one of those places in South Africa that is going to be gentrified. Like if we're thinking Brooklyn,
yeah,
Soweto is going to be gentrified. Like whatever it was back then is not what it is now, and it's not what it is going to be in the next few years. So like, because there's a vibe like on that street of where Nelson Mandela house is and Desmond Tutu house. Like it is like the hub. There's music, restaurants. It is like lively. But yeah, that's where the history is. And you're going to learn about a lot of things. You're going to learn about where some of the struggles happen. You're going to learn about key figures and all of these things, especially if you actually had followed up on some of it, maybe in school, or you watch movies like Sarafina. A lot of things are going to become real to you, because you're here, you're going to be emotional. And I would also say, make sure that you actually, so there's the Soweto tour where you would actually go where everybody's going to land and, you know, you're going to go through that tour. But you should also now go through like the real where the settlements are. And I think certain tour guides decide to take you there. Now, this is where actually the shanties are, the shacks are. And you want to probably go there as well. So you can actually get a sense and hear the stories and understand a little bit more.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you mentioned booking a tour versus going by yourself, because you can be walking through these places and miss really big, important, you know, places and people, you know, things that you wouldn't have seen if you were by yourself. But speaking of traveling by yourself, you know, there is a reputation for South Africa in Joburg. So do you feel, is Joburg's reputation for danger fair? Or has your experience challenged that narrative?
No, that's a good question. In short, it's two sides to it, right? I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair because I think a lot of times when we talk about big topics or countries, we just hear the fact that it is unsafe and we don't put it in full context. So Joburg City, the capital, may have crime, and it does. There's crime there, and when you do go, when you meet with a lot of tour guides and you meet with a lot of locals, they will tell you not to walk Joburg by yourself. So it is true that Joburg, the capital, is unsafe. But one of the things I don't think a lot of travelers understand, I mean, South Africa is a huge country. And so when we think about that, we're going to think about the context of Joburg only, that Joburg is unsafe. But what most people will tell you who've traveled there, you probably shouldn't stay in Joburg City. There are like little cities right around Joburg. So I stayed in Stanton, and there's Rosebank. And these were some of the areas that were in the struggle, like during apartheid, like the white people occupied Stanton and Rosebank, and you know, they pushed the black people to Soweto. But it's in Stanton, and there are others than Stanton and Rosebank. And so I stayed in Stanton, and Stanton is kind of where it's at, you know, like the vibe is in Stanton, and you know, oh my God, it's beautiful. So I felt safe in Stanton. So I won't recommend that when you go to South Africa, that you book a hotel in Joburg, because that's kind of the business center. You want to probably stay in places like Stanton, Rosebank, and other areas like that. And these areas are right around Joburg, the capital. And maybe if you want to explore Joburg, you probably may go maybe a day and get a guided tour by someone who knows Joburg, maybe in a car or something. But yes, it is unsafe. People talk about the robberies, people snatching and all of these things. But you can have a really good time by just staying in other areas like Stanton, where I stayed. And I actually stayed at the Stanton City Hotel. I think that's the name of it. So yeah, you can go there and feel safe. And I felt safe.
That's good to know. And I love that you mentioned staying outside of the big cities, because that's where a lot of times you get to meet the real locals. Yeah. And speaking of locals, what would you say is like, what local experience or conversation stayed with you the most from Joburg?
Well, I mean, I would say certainly when I did the tour of Soweto, that's where that's where I spoke with a lot more locals. And in fact, I was in South Africa for about 7 days or a week, and Joburg was the shortest stint of my trip. So I think I was there for about 3 days. It was in Soweto that I felt like I had most interaction, because I had done the safari and all of these things. But to really hear the people talk about their local experience, to hear the history, also to eat one of the local dishes of Soweto. And what I learned is that each township has their own food. And I need to remember the name of it, and I'll drop it in the description for you. But basically, it's a sandwich with fries and like one of those we call it bolingna, the thin slices of meat, like
Yeah.
that you fry it, bologna, like so
Bologna,
they
yeah.
put that on it, and they may put like ketchup, and so that's the food of Soweto, and it was actually really good, right? So
Sounds good.
you know, you're sitting there, you're drinking. I usually try to like drink a local beer, like drink local beers when I'm in a country. Like that's one of the things that I do, like drink their local beer. And you're just talking to people. I remember also I was on the tour with, and though this is not a local conversation, but it is also like meeting and connecting with people. And so we on the tour, there was this family who was traveling from Costa Rica, I think. And it was just so, I think, interesting and refreshing to see that. You know, they were traveling through Africa for quite a long time. They were going to do this. But I think what they showed, like, yo, we're in America and we have all of these opportunities. And then you have people who are from like places like Costa Rica who's actually taking advantage of these things. Not that they don't have access, but we, I feel, here in America have a lot more access to the world than many places. And many of us don't take advantage of those opportunities. And I was like literally sitting there with it. Like they said they were going from, I think they went from Costa Rica to Brazil and Brazil to South Africa. And then they were going to go to like Mozambique and just go around. And it was fascinating to me. Really fascinated.
I can see that because to your point, you know, as Americans, our passport holds weight. You know, we don't have we don't have that many issues when we are applying for visas to other countries, and someone from Costa Rica, you know, could just go through all of that trouble just to go to South Africa. I love that. That's amazing.
It was. I mean, and another point too was that I think it was an older couple and their children. And again, we're young Black travelers. We're really pushing for young people and people of color, whatever age you are, to really travel. And I think that's one of the points that we really need to anchor, especially if you live in one of these countries with access to the world, like the US, major cities like New York, Atlanta, California. Like there are different gateways that you have access to. So take advantage of it because other people are doing it as well.
Definitely, most definitely. And would you say, for someone who's visiting South Africa for the first time, would you recommend them starting in Joburg, and why?
I would actually recommend they start. Well, yeah, I mean, my itinerary, I think, made sense. You could start either way, right? I think starting in Joburg makes sense if you want to, like, because remember, Joburg, I feel, is where Joburg is the hub and anchor for safaris. So most of the parks are going to be closer to Joburg, hence why we started the trip in Joburg. And so I would definitely recommend you start in Joburg because the two main gateways to South Africa are Cape Town and Joburg. Those are where most international flights are going to go. I mean, I think United and Delta fly to both destinations from the US. And if you're in the UK or in Europe, like all of those airlines, British Airways, Air France, all of them go to those cities. So you can do it either way. You can do Cape Town to Joburg, but I would say you have to do both cities. If you want to, and it's also the experience that you're trying to have as well, because as I said, Joburg is where the safari hubs are. So if you're trying to go to Kruger National Park, you're going to go through Joburg. And if you're going to Kruger National Park, you're probably going to be there for a little while because Kruger is not particularly close, like an hour. It's a little drive, but it is closer than Cape Town. So if you're really looking for that safari experience, then Joburg is going to be your anchor. If you're looking for like the beach and the coastal experience, then Cape Town is where your anchor will be. But you want to go to Joburg because I feel that Joburg is where the hub, the music of Amapiano is. Like, that's where it's at. It's in Cape Town too. but there's a different, I'm not sure if you're going to ask these questions, but there's a different vibe.
Yeah.
In Joburg. It's different. So you're getting, I think, two different vibes. Though it's all South Africa, I think, like, you know, if you're looking for that those DJ parties, which they're all over, like, but South Africa is known for that, right? But I feel like the hub, the heart of the music is more so like a Joburg vibe. Cape Town, it's there in Cape Town, and I'm not gonna say it's not in Cape Town, but I think it's more so while in Joburg, I think, like, we found this Uber driver who actually took us to a very local spot. I think it's in Tembisa. That's where we went. So one of the things you want to do when you go to South Africa, like, you follow the DJs. So maybe that's one of the ways that you're going to know where the parties or the Amapiano DJs are playing. You follow DJs. So I guess he would know where they would be following them, and he took us to where one of those parties would be happening. I felt that's where we had, like, the better experience, because what we had done before, again, as I said, we stayed in Stanton, and Stanton is the lit area. Like, that's where most of the nighttime vibes will happen in Stanton. And so I remember one of the guys, when I came there, he was like, oh, you know, just down the road, there's one of the spots. And yes, down the road was, when I say down the road, like 5 minutes by car down the road.
Yeah.
was where the parties were happening. And we went to this spot that I think had about 3 or 4 spots, like clubs or whatever you want to call them. But I just felt, I think when we went to them, they were very stuck up. They weren't what we were looking for as it relates to, you've seen those videos, like South Africa, yeah. the rave, the DJ, like, that's not what we were getting. Like, we were getting, you know, people coming to a club, sitting down, bottle service, drinking, vibing lightly to that's not what we were looking for. We're looking for, like, people are dancing. And so I remember when we got into Uber, we talked about it, and he was like, oh, we exchanged numbers, and he messaged us on Monday. He picked us up and he took us to that local spot. So that happens a lot in Joburg. By the way, Monday apparently is the time to go out in Joburg.
Oh, wow.
Not Saturday, not Sunday, Monday. And that was our reaction. I think there's a name for it. They call it like Joburg Monday or something along that line. So when you go, know that, yeah, you have the weekend, but Monday is the day.
Is that their way of fighting the Monday scaries, you know, making it a party day instead of a work day?
I feel that's what it is.
Okay.
I feel that what it is, because it was very surprising, because, you know, everywhere you go, people party on, you know, the weekend. They may start from Thursday, or certainly Friday, but by Monday, everything is closed. So when we heard this, we were so surprised. So I really think it is their way of doing it, but it makes sense. And I think it's a very Joburg thing. So when you're going to Joburg, make sure you're there on a Monday, that you could actually experience the litness in Joburg on a Monday.
Wow, I love that. That's such a fun tip that you wouldn't get unless you go to South Africa, you know? And you've given us such a beautiful glimpse of Joburg. I feel like you touched on all the senses, you know, the smells, the taste, you know, how you felt there. And I think you've inspired us to finally book our flights to Joburg. I know I am. Hopefully next year.
Joburg.
Yeah, Joburg. Well,
okay.
Joburg, Cape Town next, but we do have to take a break, and we will be back, and you will be able to pick your brain more about Cape Town.
Definitely.
Okay, so before we jump back into today's episode, we've got a little whiff of a sneak peek for you. As we wrap up the season, we're excited to share that our season finale looks a little bit different. We packed up our bags and took some of the Young Black Travelers members on the road to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Just like last year, we partnered with Getaway Society, and we recorded our season finale at one of their vacation homes. And we we're surrounded by the beauty of the Smoky Mountains. So, not to give too much away, we're just going to say that we had great conversation, incredible views, and a few moments you don't want to miss. So, make sure you're subscribed and following Young Black Travelers blog, because trust us, you won't want to miss how we close out this season. All right, now let's get back to today's episode to finish it off.
So Asher, before break, I did have a question I wanted to ask you before we move on to Cape Town, because I'm excited to hear about Cape Town. But what, according to your itinerary, how long do you recommend someone to stay in Joburg versus Cape Town? Like, what was your itinerary for the most part to kind of give us an idea of how we should plan our next trip?
Wow, Amina, that's a really good question. So as I said, Joburg was the shortest leg on my itinerary. But again, I think that depends on the experience you're looking for. Now, I would say Joburg there's a lot to do in Joburg, but I think people typically go to Joburg as the anchor for like the apartheid history experiences, where they're going to like go to Soweto and all of those things. But also they go to Joburg for the anchor for safaris. So if you really want to do safari, is going to be a major part of your experience, then you're probably going to be in Joburg for a longer time.
Okay.
I've done safaris before, and so I did one, and I didn't do Kruger. I did Johannesburg, which is closest to Joburg. So I think that was so it was a 10-hour long day, and it was a 1-day game drive experience. So you could do that in a day, because I think Johannesburg is about 4 or so hours from Joburg, and then you go on the game drive, and then they drive you back to Joburg. So I think if knowing like how long you're going to be doing these experiences, that's how you're going to be planning your itinerary. Because if you're going to be, let's say, going on a 3-day or 5-night safari to Johannesburg or Kruger, then you're going to be in that Joburg area for a longer time. And if you're doing that safari experience, then again, you should also, as I said, make sure you're doing the Soweto experience, like you're going through Soweto. And we even missed some of the museums. So that's why I think my 3-day was a little bit short, because I didn't have time to at least explore the museums. I actually felt it was rushed. But because I'd gone through Soweto, and we've learned through the guide, I felt rich through that experience. So I would say you probably want to give Joburg maybe about, just for the experiences within Joburg itself outside of safari, probably give it about 5 days, because there are going to be those museums that you should go to. You should do the Soweto tour, or any other township. And so like go to as many townships as you're able to, because that in itself lends another experience. And I think a lot of times some people may run away from that. The townships are not, they may, like, you go with someone who knows the area. I'm not telling you to go just walk into a township not knowing what to do. Like, that would be dangerous. But you go, maybe there are tours that are going to take you to the townships, and because people actually do appreciate you coming in there. And what I actually notice is that they appreciate when Black people come in. They appreciate seeing our own people. There's also one of the things that happened on my tour. As I said, remember, we're with the Costa Ricans, and I remember when we came, again, remember, like, there are people who guard these townships. They, you just don't show up and walk into the people, them home or turf. And I remember these guys came, and they were like, basically, like, they didn't want the Costa Ricans there, because remember, they associated them as white.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, it was this whole thing. Yes. So, because sometimes we think of the world not from America, because we understand Latinos. We know, like, Latin people, like we may be able to spot who different people are, but when you go to South Africa, and even coming from St. Vincent, anyone who was light skinned, we just saw them as white. And so it was this thing, and I felt so bad for them because I was like, yeah, they're associating you to the white people who they've been, having a struggle with, but you're here to just really learn and glean more. And, but ultimately they let them through and we were good.
That's kind of funny. It's like, you don't have enough melanin. We're going to have to keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
That's it is.
It was interesting. Yeah.
It's so you did the safari with the Costa Ricans, right? Is that what you were saying? You did the safari with Costa Ricans? No.
No, we did the Soweto tour with the Costa Ricans.
Okay.
The safari we booked through Viator, which again is a tip for you. Just use Viator, get your guide, and that's how we found the safari. And we met random people on the safari.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So the last question, and I'm really happy I didn't forget to ask you this, because most people go to South Africa for a safari to go on a game drive. How was that experience for you? Because for me, I've been on safari before, but it was in parts of West Africa, but I've always wanted to go in South Africa because that's where all the animals are. So how was that experience for you? Was it very Lion King? Was it like unfathomable to see all of these animals? And did you see an elephant?
Wow. I mean, thank God you didn't forget that question, because I think that is an important question, because again, that's what South Africa is typically known for. Again, as you said, Lion King was kind of based on South Africa and Kenya, that region. So yes, you should go to South Africa for the safari, but I would say my experience, I'm only talking about my experience. I preferred my safari in Kenya. Now, and you could go and listen to that podcast from the Kenyan safari. I was there for 3 days, had more opportunities for more game drives. So when they say game drive, they mean that you're going out and you're driving around to see the animals. One of the things that you should know when you are going to any safari, especially in the wild, it's not Six Flags, their safari, where it's probably a smaller park and you could know that you're seeing a lion because they have them in a certain area. You're in the wild, and so you honestly can't control what you see, and that can be the thing that surprises a lot of people. On my safari, the first thing I saw was a snake. We saw a black mamba. I'm deadly afraid of snakes. Going across as we get into the park, the black mamba is going across the path, and hear me in the Jeep, snake. It seemed like I was the only one who saw it, because I'm going off and everybody's calm. I don't know if they saw it or not, but nonetheless, again, we could have controlled that we saw a snake, and that was the first thing we saw. But we also didn't see a lot of animals. So typically when you go, a lot of the big five. So the big five, I think, are, and I may miss some, I know it's the lion, the rhino, the elephant, the cheetah, and the leopard, I think, are the big five. So those are the 5 animals whenever you go on a safari, those are your goal to see, and some of them are harder to see than others. So seeing lions are not the easiest. So we didn't see any lion on this safari.
Oh, wow.
But we saw them. We saw them in Kenya. We didn't see any lions because, again, you're in the park, they could be anywhere. We didn't see cheetahs and we didn't see leopards. So we saw about 2 of them. We saw elephants are usually common, and rhino. Giraffes are not even in the big 5, but you will always see giraffes because they're so common in, I think, that region. Because even when I went to Kenya, we were driving to Arusha, we saw giraffes just crossing the road and eating on the road. So I think temper your expectation when you go on a safari, either to South Africa or Kenya, about like seeing everything, because you may not. But what I felt that South Africa, yes, had a more like Johannesburg probably had a more developed safari experience where I feel like the roads were paved because they've probably been doing this for a longer time. I don't think any of this took away from the animals being there, but like it was more like developed where we were driving on paved roads, but we didn't see as many animals as I saw in Kenya. So like, and I also felt in Kenya like it was more of like, you know, you're in the National Geographic and like they're hunting down an animal. That's the experience I had in Kenya. Like they'll be on the walkie-talkie, cheetah sighted, and then the van there, everybody's rushing to the cheetah sighted. That's the experience in Kenya. In this Johannesburg, it was very different, but you should probably try to experience both.
That's so good to know. So our next podcast will be about Kenya and safari to Kenya, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. And it's good to know to taper, you know, your expectations, because I think we expect to get in the car, the Jeep, drive, and then we see lions just, you know, attacking a bison or something, you know. So it's good to know it's more of a quiet, chill, peaceful moment, you know, where you hope to see these animals. But a lot of the cats are nocturnal, so it's not surprising that you didn't get to see them. But that's really good to know.
There you go. There you go. And also I think, and maybe it's a Western thing or maybe it's a Black thing, I don't know, like whenever people hear about safari, we are afraid, because whenever I tell people I've been on a safari, they're like, oh, and you saw lions and the lions were right there. I mean, this was in Kenya. Oh, and they didn't eat you? No, they weren't even paying attention to us. The vehicle was there, the lions were doing their thing, and we were invisible to them. Now, I'm not going to say be jumping out the vehicle. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think sometimes there's this fear within the Black community about about the wild.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? Because probably that's how the movie portrayed. But so just know that, as you said, you're not always going to see these animals, but they're not out to get you. They're not out to get you.
They're not. When I went on a safari in Senegal, the lions were, you know, jumping on the cars, and like they were I think they were conditioned to know that we would give them, you know, pieces of meat and things like that. So it was a fun experience. But you kind of mentioned something about that, where it's a smaller localized spot, then you know for a fact you'll see the lions. But when it's a bigger actual game reserve land, it's a little bit harder to see them. And that makes sense. You know, they're not at our beck and call. Like they're probably sleeping or something like that. And you did say that, did you see a rhino? I can't remember if you saw one.
Yeah, we saw the rhino. They were a bit far, but we saw them. We saw them. Again, I saw more in Kenya, but they're there. And again, so maybe that's one of the things you should bring. Like, make sure you pack this when you're doing a safari. Bring binoculars. Those are going to be so helpful for you, because remember, not every time you're going to be going up close to the animal. And so having and I had them in Kenya, but I forgot to bring them in South Africa. Make sure you pack those with you, because they will be really helpful.
That's good to know. That's a really good tip for sure. All right, Ashley, so we're going to move on to Cape Town. But before we do, we're going to take a break. Thank you for your plethora of different tips for us for Joburg. I'm sure people listening are really excited to go. So we're going to take a break and we'll be back.
Cool.
And with that, we're going to press pause on today's conversation. We've already uncovered so much, but we're not done yet. So in part 2, we'll finish off the conversation as we dive into Cape Town. And you won't want to miss it. So be sure to subscribe to the Young Black Travelers podcast so that you're notified as soon as part 2 is released. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, the best journeys don't just change where you've been, they change how you see the world.